All right, so today we're going deep on Technics and Civilization by Lewis Mumford.
Oh, yeah.
And looks like we've got a whole stack of sources all about this one book.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing you're pretty interested in how technology really shapes us.
It really is fascinating.
You know, maybe even more than we think about on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, and I think what's so interesting about Mumford's work is that even though he wrote this way back in 1934,
Right.
it's still so relevant today.
Totally.
You know, he really digs into the social and the philosophical changes
Yeah.
that go hand in hand with, like, the advances in technology.
Yeah, it's more than just the gadgets themselves.
Yeah.
It's about the whole, ripple effect.
Exactly.
I mean, who would ever think to connect?
The
invention of the clock to the rise of capitalism.
That's one of Mumford's most
Wild.
thought-provoking arguments.
Yeah.
He really challenges that, common narrative that tries to pin the machine age only on James Watt,
Right.
his steam engine.
Right. You're just one guy, one invention.
Right, exactly. Instead, he goes way back,
Okay.
tracing the roots of the machine to, much earlier inventions.
Okay.
And even these cultural shifts, what was going on in monasteries.
Wait, so you're saying, the way monks lived centuries ago, actually influenced the development of,
Yeah.
this iPhone I'm holding right now?
It might sound like a stretch, but
Right.
Mumford makes a really compelling case.
Right.
He points out how that, regimented life of the monks,
Yeah.
with their emphasis on timekeeping and order,
Okay.
actually fostered a mechanical mindset.
I mean, it's true. They were very structured.
Yeah, it's like those early clocks in the monasteries weren't just about telling time. They were about instilling
Oh,
a
wow.
whole new way of thinking,
Yeah.
a structured and measured approach to life.
Okay.
And that mindset really laid the groundwork
Wow.
for, the complex technologies that we have today.
Okay, so my mind is officially blown. So it's not just about, one invention leading to another.
Right.
It's about the underlying ways of thinking that make those inventions possible in the first place.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
And Mumford also highlights
Okay.
the rise of money as an abstraction and how that played a really crucial role, too.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Okay, so think about it this way. In the Middle Ages, wealth was all about physical possessions.
Okay.
Things you could see and touch,
Yeah.
like castles, land, art.
Makes sense.
But with money,
Yeah.
wealth just became like numbers in a ledger.
Okay, so
Yeah.
a shift from the concrete to the abstract.
Exactly.
How does that tie into the
Well,
development of machines?
think about it this way.
Okay.
This new abstract way of thinking about wealth,
Mm-hmm.
it really mirrored the kind of abstract thinking
Interesting.
that was needed for scientific methods, which then paved the way for more complex and abstract machines.
Whoa. That's deep.
Yeah.
I never thought about it like that.
It's a pretty cool connection.
Yeah, and this all kind of feeds into his framework
Right.
of the three phases of the machine,
Right.
the eotechnic,
Mm-hmm.
the paleotechnic,
Yes.
and the neotechnic.
Those are the ones.
Okay. And these weren't just about specific inventions.
No.
They each represent a whole different way
Exactly.
of relating to technology
Yeah.
and the world around us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's break those down a bit more.
Sure.
I'm sure our listeners are probably curious too.
Mm-hmm.
What was that eotechnic phase all about?
So imagine a vibrant Renaissance fair
Okay.
with artisans from all over the world
Okay.
showcasing their inventions.
Yeah.
That's kind of what the eotechnic phase was like windmills, water mills, the compass,
Oh.
even the printing press.
Yeah.
It was this time of experimentation and ingenuity,
Mm-hmm.
drawing on all these diverse sources
Okay.
of knowledge and technology from all around the globe.
It sounds like a time of incredible progress.
It was.
I mean, the printing press alone
Huge.
did everything.
It did.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just happening in Europe.
Oh, okay.
Mumford points out that the eotechnic spirit
Mm-hmm.
was alive and well in China,
Okay.
the Islamic world, and other regions.
So even back then, we were seeing that kind of
Yes.
cross-pollination of
Like I-
ideas and technologies.
Absolutely. The eotechnic phase was a time of global exchange and innovation.
You know how we talk about globalization today?
Yes.
That's
It was already happening.
yeah, it was already happening then.
Yeah, those windmills in Holland. They
Right.
were grinding spices from the Orient.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
It really shows you how interconnected the world was becoming,
Yeah.
even way back then.
Mm-hmm.
But if the eotechnic phase was so vibrant,
Mm-hmm.
how did we end up
Yeah.
in the paleotechnic phase, which you describe as
Yeah.
a little bit darker?
The transition wasn't sudden. There were several factors at play.
Okay.
The rise of capitalism, the discovery of new energy sources like coal, and the development of iron. These all contributed to like a really dramatic increase in production and consumption.
So like progress sped up?
Yeah.
But maybe not in the best direction.
Yeah, that's one way to put it.
Okay.
So the Paleotechnic phase, that's when the machine really took on a life of its own.
Okay.
The focus shifted to coal and iron,
Right.
the steam engine, the factory system. And while it led to these incredible advancements, it also brought environmental damage, social disruption, and the exploitation of workers.
It's like all the issues we're facing now with climate change and unsustainable practices, like those have their roots in that Paleotechnic era.
Exactly.
Mumford, like, helps us understand how we got here.
He was writing nearly a century ago.
Right.
But his insights are so incredibly relevant today. He saw that with the increased production came a darker side, rampant pollution, deforestation, the displacement of people, and the factory system, while efficient, often meant harsh working conditions, and this sense of alienation for workers.
It seems like humanity kind of took a back seat
to
the demands of the machine during that era.
In a lot of ways, yes.
So where does that leave us?
With the Neo-Technic
phase.
So Mumford saw the Neo-Technic phase as like a potential turning point.
Good.
This is where electricity takes center stage.
Okay.
New materials like plastics and alloys emerge, offering all these new possibilities.
Right.
And perhaps most importantly, there's this growing awareness of the need for sustainability and technologies that are in harmony with nature.
So are we in the Neo-Technic phase now?
We're in the midst of it, but it's still unfolding. We're still really reliant on fossil fuels, even as we're developing renewable energy. And all these new ethical dilemmas are arising. Technologies like AI and genetic engineering.
Yeah, it's a crazy time to be alive.
It really is.
And this is where Mumford's concept of the duty to invent comes in.
Yes.
Right? It's
not just about what we can do with technology, but what we should do.
Right, exactly.
It reminds us that technology is a tool, and it's up to us to use it wisely to make sure it serves human needs and promotes a more sustainable and just world.
It's making me think about all the choices we make every day. From the gadgets we buy to the apps we use. Are we really considering the broader impact
It's a good question.
of our choices?
That's a question Mumford would definitely want us to ask.
Yeah.
He believed that we all have a role to play
Yeah.
in shaping the technological landscape.
Yeah.
We're not just passive consumers.
Right.
We're active participants.
Love that. It's a lot to think about.
It is.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to remember that Mumford wasn't a technophobe.
No, not at all.
He wasn't against technology.
Right.
He just wanted us to be more aware of its power and to use it thoughtfully.
Exactly. He saw both the incredible potential of technology and the very real dangers it posed. And he believed that it was up to us as a society to choose the path we wanted to take.
It's a powerful message.
It is.
And a good place to leave it for today, I think.
Sounds good to me. And that's why I think his work is so relevant today. You know, he challenges us to think about the values that are embedded in our technologies. Like, are they really serving human needs? Are they promoting sustainability? Are they contributing to a more just world? These are the questions Mumford would want us to be asking ourselves.
Constantly,
Yeah, all the time. And
like he's holding up a mirror?
To our tech-obsessed society and saying, hey,
take a good look.
Take a good look at what you're creating.
Yeah.
Is this really what you want?
Precisely.
Yeah.
And one of the things he really dives into is how technology can create this mechanical routine that ends up dominating our lives.
Interesting.
Like, think about how the clock, with its relentless measurement of time, has shaped our modern world.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm constantly racing against the clock, always checking my schedule, my deadlines, feeling like I never have enough time.
And that's exactly the danger Mumford highlights. He was worried that this obsession with efficiency and productivity would lead to like a spiritual emptiness.
Wow.
A disconnect from the deeper rhythms of life.
It's true.
It's like we've become slaves to the clock.
Right.
Always rushing from one task to the next, never fully present in the moment.
It's funny because, like, the more connected we become through technology, the more disconnected we feel on a human level.
Yes.
Always scrolling, always checking notifications, never truly relaxing.
It's a paradox, isn't it?
It really is.
Mumford would probably argue that while our digital devices offer us these conveniences,
right, they do make things easier.
They can also contribute to this fragmented and distracted existence.
Yeah.
It's like we're constantly tethered to this digital world, and it's pulling us away from real-life experiences and connections.
So how do we strike a balance?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
Mumford doesn't offer any easy solutions.
Okay.
But he does suggest that we need to be more mindful and intentional about how we use technology.
Okay, so like setting boundaries.
Yes, exactly. Setting boundaries.
Taking breaks.
Shaking breaks.
Making sure that technology serves our needs.
Yes.
Rather than the other way around.
Precisely. It's about reclaiming our time.
I like that.
And attention.
Yeah.
And remembering that we are in control.
That's a really empowering message.
It is.
Especially in a world where it often feels like technology is controlling us.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to remember that technology is ultimately a tool. It's not inherently good or bad.
Right.
It's how we use it.
It's all about how we
that determines its impact.
Right.
Think of it like a hammer.
Right.
You can use it to build a house or to cause harm.
Right.
It all depends
on
the intention of the user.
That's such a clear analogy.
Yeah.
And it brings us back to Mumford's concept
of
the duty to invent.
Exactly.
It's not just about blindly creating.
It's not about just creating new technologies. It's about creating them with a purpose.
Right.
With a vision for a better future.
He's calling for like a more ethical and responsible approach.
Absolutely.
To technological development.
Yes.
One that prioritizes
human well-being.
Human well-being.
Environmental sustainability.
Above all else.
Above all else. That's the key.
It's a pretty tall order.
It is.
But I think it's one worth striving for.
I agree.
Okay, so we've talked about the dangers of like mechanical routine and the importance of being mindful with our technology use.
Yes.
Now I want to circle back to those three phases of the machine.
Sounds good.
Eotechnic, Paleotechnic, Neotechnic.
Those are the ones.
Let's start with the Eotechnic phase again.
Okay.
You described it as a time of experimentation and syncretism, drawing on influences from all over the world.
Exactly. Think of it like a grand melting pot of ideas and innovations.
Okay.
For instance, like the Gothic cathedrals of Europe.
Yeah.
Those are these incredible feats of engineering. Made possible by like blending Roman, Byzantine, even Islamic influences.
It's amazing how much those cathedrals still stand today.
I know.
It's incredible.
And that wasn't just a European thing.
Okay.
The Eotechnic spirit was thriving in other parts of the world too.
Well,
from China to the Islamic world.
So even back then,
yeah,
we were seeing this kind of cross-pollination
absolutely
of ideas and technology.
Yeah, the Eotechnic phase was a time of global exchange and innovation.
And it wasn't just about material inventions.
No, it wasn't.
Right, we see the rise of universities.
Yeah.
The rediscovery of classical knowledge. A renewed interest in the natural world.
It was really a vibrant time.
It's interesting because today we talk so much about technological innovation.
Right.
As if it's like this brand new thing.
Yeah.
But clearly humans have always been tinkering and experimenting.
Oh, yeah. We've always been tinkerers.
Yeah. So what are some of the other key inventions from this E-Technic era?
We already mentioned the watermill and the windmill.
Right.
Which harnessed these natural energy sources.
Using what was around them.
Exactly. Then you have the magnetic compass.
Oh, yeah.
Which revolutionized navigation and made long-distance voyages possible.
Right. Ships could actually go somewhere and know they were going the right way.
Exactly. And of course, we can't forget the printing press.
The printing press, yeah.
Which was a game changer. Huge. When it came to the spread of knowledge and ideas.
It's hard to imagine our world.
I know.
Without any of those things.
It really is.
They really laid the foundation.
Yeah.
For so much of what came after.
They did. And it's important to remember that the Eotechnic phase wasn't just about technology. It was about a whole cultural shift.
Okay.
It was a time of optimism.
Okay.
Exploration.
Yeah.
And a belief in the power of human ingenuity.
I like that.
Yeah, it was a really exciting time.
Okay, so we've got this era of vibrant experimentation, global exchange.
Yes.
How do we get from there?
Well, As I mentioned earlier, the transition was gradual.
Okay.
There were several factors at play. The rise of capitalism.
Okay.
The discovery of coal as a new energy source.
Right.
And the increasing use of iron.
Okay.
And while these led to these tremendous advancements in production and technology, they also came with some serious downsides.
This is where things start to go a bit off the rails.
In some ways, yes.
Okay.
The Paleotechnic phase is really when the machine starts to dominate. Okay. We see the rise of factories, mass production, this relentless pursuit of efficiency, and with that comes environmental damage, social upheaval, and the exploitation of workers.
It's like progress on steroids.
Yeah.
But with some major side effects.
Yeah, exactly. We're talking rampant pollution, deforestation, the displacement of entire communities, factory work. Yeah. While increasing output also led to these really harsh and often dehumanizing conditions for workers. Yeah. It's like the machine took on a life of its own.
Right.
And humanity kind of became secondary.
Became secondary to its demands.
To its demands, exactly.
That's a pretty grim picture.
It is.
It makes you wonder if all that progress was really worth it.
That's one of the big questions Mumford grapples with.
Okay.
He saw the Paleotechnic era as a time of both incredible advancement and profound loss. Yeah. You know, you have both sides of the coin there.
And he didn't just focus on the material aspects.
No, he didn't.
He also talked about how this era shaped our thinking and our values.
He argued that the values of efficiency, mechanization, and standardization permeated every aspect of life.
Wow.
From work to leisure to our very understanding of time.
Yeah, it's like that old saying, time is money.
Exactly.
Like every minute.
Every minute must be productive.
It has to be productive,
Yeah, and Mumford was really concerned about the long-term impact of this mindset.
Right.
He felt that it could lead to a loss of creativity.
Interesting.
A decline in craftsmanship, and a disconnect from the natural world.
It makes me think about how much of our lives now are structured around efficiency and optimization.
Absolutely.
We're constantly looking for ways to save time, to streamline our processes, to get more done in less time.
And while there's nothing wrong with efficiency in itself, it's important to ask ourselves, what are we sacrificing in this pursuit of speed and productivity?
Right. What are we losing?
Are we losing something valuable along the way?
That's a really good question.
Yeah. It's something to think about.
It is. So where does that leave us?
Well,
with the Neotechnic phase.
So Mumford saw the Neotechnic phase.
Okay.
Which emerged in the late 19th and early 20th centuries.
Okay.
As like a potential turning point.
Okay.
A chance to kind of move away from some of the more destructive excesses of the Paleotechnic era.
So less coal, more renewable energy, less mass production, more focus on sustainability.
That's the idea.
Okay.
He saw this phase as being characterized by a shift toward electricity, new materials like plastics and alloys, and a more organic approach to technology.
Can you give me some specific examples of like Neotechnic technologies?
Well, electricity is a big one.
Yeah.
It's a much cleaner and more versatile energy source than coal.
Right.
We also see the development of new materials.
Okay.
Like plastics and alloys.
Yeah.
Which open up all these new possibilities for design and construction. And maybe most importantly, there's this growing awareness of the need to protect the environment and to create technologies that are in harmony with nature.
It sounds like the Neotechnic phase is all about finding like a more balanced and sustainable relationship.
Exactly. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
But it's important to remember that the Neotechnic phase is still unfolding.
Right. We're living it.
We're still in the early stages, and there are a lot of challenges ahead.
Like the fact that we're still heavily reliant.
Exactly. We're still heavily reliant on fossil fuels.
Yeah.
And we're also grappling with these new ethical dilemmas posed by technologies like AI and genetic engineering.
Yeah.
Mumford's concept of the duty to invent feels especially relevant.
Extra relevant.
In this context.
Yeah.
We need to be asking ourselves, not just what we can do with these technologies, but what we should do. It's about making responsible choices, considering the long-term consequences, and making sure that technology serves humanity, not the other way around.
Not the other way around.
And I think one of Mumford's key insights here is that these three phases aren't entirely distinct. They overlap. And they influence each other.
Right.
So even as we move into the Neo-Technic phase, we're still dealing with the legacy of the Paleotechnic era.
It's like we're trying to clean up a mess. While simultaneously trying to avoid making new ones.
A perfect analogy. And that's why Mumford's work is so valuable. He helps us to see the big picture, to understand this complex interplay of technology, society, and the environment.
It's all connected.
It's all connected.
Yeah, he gives us a framework for thinking critically about the choices we make and the future we want to create.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered the three phases of the machine and how they've shaped our world. But there's one more big idea I want to explore.
All right, let's do it.
Mumford's concept of the duty to invent. We've touched on it.
Yeah, we've mentioned it a few times.
Throughout our conversation.
Yes.
But I think it deserves a closer look.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
It's one of Mumford's most powerful and enduring contributions.
Totally.
He's essentially arguing that we have a moral obligation to use our creativity and ingenuity to address the challenges facing humanity.
Right. It's not just about inventing.
It's not about inventing for the sake of inventing or for profit.
Right.
It's about inventing with a purpose.
Right.
With a vision for a better future.
And I think this idea is more relevant than ever today.
I agree.
You know, we're facing a whole host of existential threats, from climate change to social inequality, and we need all the ingenuity
we need it all
we can muster to tackle these challenges.
It's a call to action.
Yes.
For inventors, innovators, really anyone who's working to shape the future.
So if Mumford were alive today, looking at our current technological landscape,
I think he would be.
What do you think he would say?
I think he would be both excited by the possibilities and deeply concerned about the potential dangers.
Right, like it's a double-edged sword.
It is.
Yeah.
He would probably be urging us to use our technological prowess wisely, to be mindful of the unintended consequences of our actions, and to always remember our duty.
Our duty to invent.
To invent a better world.
That's a powerful message. Yeah, it really is. He challenges us to think bigger, you know, to see how everything's connected, and to remember that technology, it's never just about technology. It's about, like, humanity and the kind of world we want to live in.
Yeah.
Speaking of interconnectedness, I want to go back to something you said earlier. About how Mumford traces the roots of the machine way back further than just the Industrial Revolution.
Right.
Like you talked about monasteries and even capitalism having an influence on technological development.
What's so brilliant about Mumford's work is how he reveals these, like, surprising connections that most people wouldn't even think to look for.
Totally.
Like, for instance, he makes this really compelling case for how the rise of money as an abstraction actually paved the way for the development of complex machines.
Okay, now I have to know more about that. How does money as an abstraction relate to machines?
So think about how wealth was perceived in the Middle Ages. It was all about tangible things. Castles, land art, you could see it, touch it. It's concrete. But with the rise of money, wealth became represented by these numbers in a ledger. This symbol, this shift toward abstraction, Mumford argues, really mirrored the kind of abstract thinking necessary for scientific methods, which in turn laid the groundwork for thinking about developing more complex machines.
So it's like this shift in how we thought about something as fundamental as wealth actually had a ripple effect on how we approach technology.
Precisely. And he takes it even further, suggesting that even, like, the seemingly unrelated world of monasteries played a role.
How so?
He points out how, like, the structured and disciplined life of monks, with their emphasis on timekeeping and order, cultivated this mechanical mindset that made later technological advancements possible.
So like a monastery, which we associate with spirituality and contemplation, could actually contribute to the development of the very technologies that sometimes seem to pull us away.
Exactly. It's kind of ironic.
from those things.
It is. It's like those early clocks in the monasteries weren't just about keeping track of time for prayer and daily ritual.
Right.
They represented this whole new way of thinking about time itself.
Interesting.
As something that could be measured, divided, controlled.
Yeah.
And that shift in mindset was this key ingredient in the rise of the machine.
It makes you realize that technological development isn't just about isolated inventions. It's about this whole web of social, cultural, even psychological factors.
It all ties together.
Yeah. So with all this in mind, what does Mumford's work have to say to us today?
That's a great question.
We live in a world that's like so much more technologically advanced than anything he could have imagined.
Light years ahead.
Are his ideas still relevant?
I believe they are more relevant than ever.
Okay.
You know, Mumford's work encourages us to think critically about the role of technology in our lives.
Okay.
To be aware of not just like the shiny promises, but also the potential downsides, the unintended consequences.
The stuff we don't always think about.
Exactly. He wants us to be active participants in shaping our technological future.
Right.
Not just passive consumers.
Yeah, not just along for the ride.
Exactly. It's like he's urging us to step back from this whirlwind of technological advancement and to ask ourselves, what are we creating? And is this really serving us?
Right.
Or are we serving it?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Right. And I think one of his most important messages here is that we have a choice.
We do have a choice.
We can continue down this path of unbridled technological progress, often driven by profit and convenience, or we can choose a different path. One that prioritizes human well-being, social justice, environmental sustainability.
He's reminding us that we have agency.
Yes, we do.
That we're not just along for the ride.
Exactly. And that brings us back to his concept of the duty to invent, which is such a powerful idea.
It is.
He's basically saying that we have this moral obligation to use our creativity and our technological prowess to address these challenges facing humanity, to create a world where technology is truly in service to human needs and aspirations.
It's a call to be more mindful, more intentional, more ethical.
Yes.
In how we approach technology, both as individuals and as a society.
Absolutely. So to wrap things up, what are some key takeaways?
And what are you leaving our listener with today?
I think first, it's crucial to remember that technology is never neutral. It's shaped by the values and intentions of the people who create and use it.
Behind it,
Exactly. Second, we need to be aware of those unintended consequences of our technological choices.
The ripple effects.
Ripple effects, exactly. They often have these ripple effects that extend far beyond our initial intentions.
It's like that old saying, every action has a reaction.
Exactly.
But in this case, the reactions can be far-reaching and complex.
Very complex. And lastly, I think Mumford's concept of the duty to invent is something we should all really take to heart. You know, we have this incredible opportunity to use technology to create a better world, but it requires us to be thoughtful, responsible, and deeply engaged in shaping the future we want to see.
Those are some powerful takeaways.
Yeah.
I know I'm going to be thinking about this for a long time.
Me too.
And to our listener, thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
Yes, thank you.
Into Lewis Mumford's Technics and Civilization.
It's been a pleasure.
It's been a fascinating journey.
It has.
And we hope it's left you with plenty to ponder.
Yeah, lots to think about.
About your own relationship with technology.
Yeah.
And the role it plays in shaping our world.
Absolutely.